Hello, I'm Rebecca Roach, the Director of Development here at Maine Maritime Museum. In my role managing the museum's fundraising, I am so grateful and impressed with the generosity and loyalty of donors like you. In the face of many challenges this year, Maine Maritime Museum has found creative ways to adapt and change course, including moving away from the printed community benefits report you typically receive, and instead creating this series of videos which shares all that we've been able to accomplish thanks to you. Thanks to your generosity, the museum started off strong in 2020. With 2 grants from the Davenport Trust Fund and the Leonard C. and Mildred F. Ferguson Foundation, the museum offered free admission to all for the entire months of January and February. Thousands of families were able to explore the museum without worrying about the cost of admission. Our educational staff even developed free, hands-on programs to keep our youngest museum goers engaged and excited. Another exciting change this year is the First Impressions Project. Funded by a generous group of donors, this monumental project encompassed a complete redesign of our arrival areas, making these spaces more physically accessible, more ecologically friendly, and more welcoming to both museum visitors and community members. The park-like spaces feature native plants and signage that emphasize the history and unique habitat of the property, with fun little surprises to discover like a granite inlay in the shape of Maine, poems honoring the trees on site, and delicious wild Maine blueberries.
Hello, I'm Jason Morin, Director of Programs and Operations here at Maine Maritime Museum. In the spring of 2020, while the museum was closed to visitors, museum staff was busy developing online content, including 2 themed educational video series, one on lobstering and another on building wooden vessels. These videos were used by local teachers to support and supplement their online lessons during remote learning. Staff also created several fun digital scavenger hunts utilizing paintings on Google Arts and Culture. A new blog series titled Core and Things connected readers to the museum's collection remotely. New audio tours of the Percy Small Shipyard and the Schooner Wyoming sculpture were created in preparation for the museum's opening in June. A portion of the museum's volunteer corps returned to conduct mini tours, demonstrate traditional maritime skills in the shipyard, and welcome visitors aboard our historic schooner Mary E. for dockside tours. Our maintenance volunteers have been hard at work mowing lawns, tending to the new landscaping, and installing more than 100 signs as part of the First Impressions project. Cruises aboard the cruise boat Merrymeeting began running in mid-June. In addition to the popular Lighthouse Lovers and 6 Rivers of Merrymeeting Bay cruises, several new trips were added this year, including Friday evening cruises from downtown Bath, sponsored by Bruno's Wood-Fired Pizzeria, and kid-friendly 30-minute Saturday morning cruises sponsored by Island Treasure Toys. Our Kennebec Explorers Day Camp was once again hugely popular, with nearly all 7 weeks of camp selling out. With all the necessary safety precautions in place, our campers enjoyed a dockside visit from local lobstermen, built and launched their own mini boats, and learned woodworking skills in the museum's boat shop. Thanks to the Merrymeeting Bay Trust and Bath Savings for their continued generous support of this program. This summer, we launched a new day camp geared towards older kids, Mariner's Adventure Camp. 15 campers spent a very busy week learning the ropes, quite literally, aboard the historic schooner Mary E. While on board, campers mastered skills such as coiling line, raising and trimming sails, furling, and navigation. Back on land, they tried their hand at traditional maritime skills such as turning trunnels, blacksmithing, sewing a sailor's ditty bag, and steam bending mast tubes. One camper's parents even told us that their son's passion for boats, ships, and sailing has now been set into motion. We're delighted to introduce a new generation to traditional maritime skills. Thanks to the Twombly family for making this possible. As we approach the fall, we recognize the need in our community for a full-time, in-person school option. In September, the museum launched the Alternative Expeditionary Learning Semester, a program that follows Maine State instruction standards while also providing opportunities for immersive, hands-on exploration. 15 middle school students enrolled in this first-of-its-kind program. With a curriculum that includes learning math and physics through woodworking projects in the boat shop and exploring environmental science concepts via boat in neighboring Merrymeeting Bay. Thanks to the donors who generously sponsored scholarships and provided other support for the Alternative Expeditionary Learning Semester.
Hello, I'm Christopher Tim, the Chief Curator here at Maine Maritime Museum. My team and I developed the museum's exhibits, collections, and publications. Our collection is formed and preserved thanks to the continued generosity of donors like you, who directly help and preserve Maine's maritime heritage for future generations. And in times of adversity, acts of selflessness and generosity shine brighter. Mabel Gerquist donated a significant collection of scrimshaw and wood carving, including an eagle attributed to the famed John Bellamy. Charlie Burden donated a number of objects to the Burden collection, including an early ex-photo ship portrait, Captain family portraits, including Clarissa and Captain Samuel Watts, and a number of sea chest and ephemera. The estate of Lewis Cabot donated a significant collection of postcards depicting Maine coastal scenes. James Drake donated a pay ledger from the Sewell ship El Capitan, and Will Eichard donated a half model of the America's Cup defender, Young America, complete with the radical hull treatment designed by Roy Lichtenstein. This model was presented by the sail team to broadcast journalist Walter Cronkite. Many donors strengthen our collection through generous financial support. This allows the museum to acquire exceptional artifacts as they go on the market, ensuring they remain accessible to the public and preserving them in the public trust. This past year, we purchased, among other items, an exceptional watercolor by the French artist Joseph Pellegrin, depicting the Maine-built brig Pandora embroiled in the Dominican War of Independence. We also purchased a charming folk art painting depicting winter logging in New England, currently featured in our exhibit, The Frozen Kingdom. The new Charles E. Burden Collection Stewardship Fund also supports important collection acquisitions, as well as the preservation and exhibition of these treasures. The fund was established to honor Dr. Burden, who for more than 50 years has donated more artifacts, documents, and photographs to the museum than anyone else. Thank you to the generous donors who honor both Dr. Burden and his work at the museum. More than ever, this year the curatorial department leveraged technology to share our collection online. Our Explore the Collection videos shared the insights of curatorial staff. The museum partnered with Google Arts and Culture to become the first institution in Maine to share our painting collection through online exhibits, including Patterson and Hyde, which explores the works of Charles Robert Patterson, and With a Thousand Faces, which explores some of the exceptional portraits in our collection. Both exhibits are supported through the generosity of Dick and Doris Lemieux. We also found ways to use technology to engage with our visitors on campus during a period of physical distancing. This includes a new audio tour for the schooner Wyoming that allows visitors to learn more about the colorful characters and stories behind the world's longest schooner, all triggered by QR codes on guests' smartphones. And gifts from the Maine Humanities Council, National Film Preservation Foundation, and Elizabeth and Marty Lakeman will allow us to digitize and share even more collections soon. Maine's maritime heritage is filled with diverse stories of audacity, innovation, and perseverance, inspiring messages for the present day. These themes were central to this year's exhibits. Sponsored by Main Street Design Company, Interwoven, Threads of Power in the Domestic Sphere brings together fiber arts from the 19th century to today in order to trace the role of gender roles and social norms in the domestic spaces of maritime Maine. Sponsored by the Maine Bicentennial Commission and Crooker Construction, our exhibit, We Lead, presents the stories of some of Maine's leaders and innovators. A highlight of the exhibit is a Wabanaki canoe, one of the oldest known Native American birch bark canoes in existence, on loan thanks to the Bajepscot History Center. We also updated our Schooner Wyoming gallery, a core and beloved story of our museum, so that it presents a more dynamic and inclusive look at the people that created and crewed the great schooner. Thank you to each and every one of you who generously support our collection and allow us to share these stories with the public.
Hello, I'm Kurt Spiridakis, and I'm the Director of Watercraft and Traditional Skills at Maine Maritime Museum. Schooner Mary E. received a new main boom in the spring, built over the winter in the boat shop. The annual week of cosmetic maintenance of the vessel was rain-free, allowing time to paint the entire hull and bulwarks. We also replaced many of the mast tubes that had cracked or were worn from years of service. Below decks, Mary E. now has a new set of cushions donated by Ed Rizzuto of Bar Harbor Interiors. The decks and standing rigging were oiled throughout the summer, and Mary E. sailed during the Mariner Adventure Camp and Alternative Expeditionary Learning semester. Thanks to the 1906 Society members and corporate supporters who keep Mary E. sailing strong. The 4 schools participating in the Discovery Boat Building program paused in-person classes when schools shut down in March, but that didn't stop the learning. The staff continued to build and complete the 7 skiffs started by the students, recording videos detailing important steps in the construction process. These were shared with students online, who answered questions at the end of each installment. 3 of the participating schools created alternative launch ceremonies, 2 in water, and 1 in a parking lot drive-through format. You can watch the boat building videos on the museum's YouTube channel. They will serve as educational tools well beyond the pandemic. This fall, 2 schools have opted to participate in the Discovery Boat Building program. South Bristol School will continue coming to the boat shop, and museum staff will travel to West Bath School each week to provide instruction on site. We have adapted the curriculum to focus on the needs of the school, with projects like raised garden beds and benches supplementing our woodworking projects like the 3-legged stool. For South Bristol, this marks their 25th year of boat building at the museum, which is by far the longest running educational program here. We are pleased and grateful for the opportunity to continue providing this compelling program and thank the generous donors who support these programs. Summer 2020 was the most active the museum's historic shipyard has been in decades. Blacksmith worked in the forge nearly every day, alongside wood carving and steam bending demonstrations. Volunteers planked a small sailboat just outside our historic watercraft collection and showed visitors the traditional shipbuilding skills of caulking and augering. The sawmill was also busy, allowing visitors to observe staff cutting boat lumber from donated logs. These demonstrations will continue in future years. Thanks to all the donors who support all of our traditional skills programming.
I hope you've enjoyed seeing the highlights of the work generous donors like you have made possible this year at Maine Maritime Museum. Please consider making a gift before the year's end so that this work can continue and that together we can share Maine's incredible maritime story with all.